degenerates. It is I, your guy, TJ, along with a man more awkward to watch than the butt fumble play, Watkins. See how awkward that was?
That was, yeah.
Along with the league's own Asian sensation, Kimchi, is joining us today. Say good morning, Kimchi.
Good morning.
Yeah,
And he means
first
it. It is
morning.
7:06 a.m. where I am at right now. We normally record at 5 p.m. my time.
Apparently our first and hopefully only morning cast. So I got some things I got to do today. Got some trips. So we're going to burn through this and hopefully have this posted by the time I get back. So
It will be. I'm going to edit it and upload it immediately following this.
right on. All right. So this is week 8. We're doing the AFC West. We're finishing that up finally. After this week, we're going to just do the projections for the pick'em. I guess I said for the NFL last week. It is actually for the league. So we're picking who's going to win the games in the league. So if that confused you guys. So hopefully Watkins will have something set up to where he can get votes on that because it will be a league versus co-commissioners.
I'm probably going to post it today.
Okay, with the losing commissioner doing something that's not going to be fun for them to do at the end of the year. So, AFC West, we're going to start with who I got up now, which is the Chargers, because they're probably the weakest team in this juggernaut.
I'm not sure that there's a probably about it.
So let's just jump into any questions that they had for them. Let's see here. Questions. I don't see any.
I have his full dissertation ready, though.
Question comes from URL. It's the same question that was presented to El Cacho, another tanking team. Let's say most of your picks go south next year. What would be your strategy in 26? Would you still continue to rely on picks or trade some for a few win now pieces?
Okay. Ready?
Ready. Hit me with knowledge.
The TED Talk from Boltified. If most of my picks for the 2024 draft go south next year, my plan for 2025 would still remain the same. Build around my foundational pieces while strengthening my defensive overall. My biggest piece to the rebuild starts at the quarterback position with Justin Herbert. I don't have to say much about him other than let's fucking go. I'm super fortunate to have Herbert as a building block to work around for the next 4 to 5 years, and should I get to the place where my team is ready to compete, I feel that Justin gives me that extra edge. The next position of focus after that is wide receiver. A wise man once told me for Dynasty football, wide receivers to build, running backs to win. The goal of my wide receiver core has been to get wide receivers who are 1, unproven, which tends to come at a lower price, and 2, have high ceiling potential. Jameson Williams, Mechie, and Ross all fit into this category given their collegiate careers. This upcoming season is sort of a trial to see what Mechie and Ross can do. With Jameson out the first 6 weeks, this also gives me sort of a buffer to figure out what Puka Nakawa, however the fuck you pronounce his name, or Brownlee are capable as well. I am hopeful for this core to be the strongest position on my roster in the next 2 years. As for defense overall, this is probably at the same level of priority with my wide receivers. Having much experience in IDP leagues, I would argue that a great defensive lineup is more impactful than a great offensive lineup, which he is correct about. But I may be biased since I'm sort of an IDP fanatic. I love reading scouting reports, training camp news, roster battles, and looking into potential players that will take a season or 2 to blossom. As an example, in another 32-teamer, I proudly carry the badge for having drafted players like Talanoa Hufanga, acquiring the likes of Frankie Louvu and Drew Tranquil before their breakout season last year, which both were top 10 in scoring for linebackers. It's players like that who I look for in deep IDP leagues, but I share all of this to say IDP leagues are highly volatile, meaning your hot players one season might not be those ones next season. See Jack Sanborn. What the fuck, Boltify? Jack Sanborn is a stud. There's more of a chance to find hidden gems from week to week given the amount of starters and players that rotate in and out, and that's what I love about IDP. As for my team, that is where the likes of Marty Mapu, Noah Sewell, Tuli Tupelotu come into play. I have low expectations for them their rookie season, but year 2 in 2025 is what I'm banking on for them to make more strides. One player in my defense that I'm hopeful will show out this upcoming season is Kenneth Murray. Pending how he looks in the first few weeks, he may be a high trade candidate in the future, or someone I might keep as a building block for the following season. On a separate note on the big picture scale that has been lingering when looking at trades for IDP players, is the potential for an increase in our league's defensive starting lineup. Keyword potential, which, as an aside, I don't know that that's gonna happen ever, but not a bad thing to plan for it, I guess. At tight end, I'm hopeful for Laporta and him making some strides in year 2. And lastly, my running back room is abysmal. Best case scenario is Eckler leaves the Bolts after this season, and I have the rest of the running back room to work with, and the Chargers either use Spiller Kelly Dotson along with a future rookie as a running back by committee, or one of the 3 make significant progress this year to be a potential lead back the following season. With my current roster, I think I'm projected to have a top 3 to 5 pick. Casho seems pretty set at 1.01. And if I could get top 3, I'd be more than happy with that given the building blocks of my team. Should the pieces all fall into place this season with my players flourishing and building up next season, I would be stoked, especially since I have 4 first-round picks for the 2025 draft. I think 2026 is the year I'll be in the mix to make moves that put me in a position to compete. Honorable mention on my roster is Jake Hayner in year 2 or 3. We'll see if he's the heir to Carr. Alright, that's all I got, folks. Thank you for reading my dissertation and listening to my TED Talk.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And he pretty much hit on everything that I would have had about his team in the first place, about his building blocks. I mean, he named them all. He's got a couple others on defense that he didn't name, but he pretty much hit on all the big names. And the fact that he's got his own first, for next year, which is, once we get to his projections, you'll see why that's a good thing. Plus he has the Colts first, multiple thirds, a bunch of fourths, and then, yeah, like he said, 4 first-round picks in 2025.
Yeah, he's running a lot of rookies. I kind of feel like this is kind of similar to Saquon, how Saquon just kind of like picked up a whole bunch of defensive player rookies. Which is like, we'll just see what sticks.
Yep.
I guess when you're tanking, though, that's, pretty legitimate thing to do. He's got Herbert. I've always been a fan of Kelly. I think Kelly could start and be a pretty successful running back. Maybe just a workload thing for him, but
yeah.
I've always been a fan of Joe Kelly, or Josh Kelly. Joe Kelly's a pitcher for the somebody. I don't know. He got traded this year, so
I don't know.
It's early. I do like the fact that he drafted Laporta. It gives him a pretty good tight end for the future. But everything else seems kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, I think he hit the nail on the head with his dissertation there.
I'm deciding on if I like this trade for Williams. So for Eckler and Joseph Day, he got Williams, 24 second round pick, 25 first, and a 25 fourth.
Sebastian Joseph Day is kind of whatever. He's old. He's okay. He's not like a, huge point scorer. But
I think that's
a young potential wide receiver 1 and a first for Eckler is not bad.
Yeah, I think because I don't think Eckler is going to be around too much longer as a
premier back. Yeah.
He's getting up there in age, so Chargers, for one, where they're at sucks, but for them, but yeah, they're going 0-13 this year.
Yeah, likewise, I have them 0-13. They are not winning a game for trying. I do have them in week 10 with the Dolphins being a 50-50 game, but I don't think they win. I think they go 0-13.
I think it was Yeah, I think it was the closest game for me, but it was probably more like 60-40.
Yeah.
All right, so that's enough for them. We'll go ahead and go to Las Vegas. To Leon, who is
Our newest council
the
member.
member to the council. He has been with us for a while. He was doing the
He is an OG.
rankings and stuff like that. So, congrats to the step up. So Vegas. I actually had a couple questions for him, so I'll just read the questions, and they were DM'd to me, so I'll go ahead and answer them as well. So for me is being in this division, what's the best outcome for you in your division? Do you think is realistically possible? Also, do you feel you are in a better position or worse post draft, as there were a few big names drafted in your division that was mostly targeted towards Denver having the 101 and picking up the best running back out there? So his answer, not quite as long, but it is still 2 paragraphs. So okay, so I think the best outcome in my division this year is third, and I think it's pretty realistic. My team is pretty solid, but I feel like the Broncos and Chiefs are still up by a lot. I also have 3 rookies starting on offense: Charbonnet, Flowers, and especially AR-15, who have to get acclimated to playing in the NFL and have to earn the trust of their coaches. But I feel like if AR-15 is the guy, which I hope he is, that is why I traded a lot to get him at 102. I have a very high draft pick next year in the Lions one, and then have the core to be a pretty serious playoff contender next year. My offense largely depends on the rookies hitting, but my defense has a good combination of veteran and young players, I feel like. To answer your second question, I feel like all teams in my division had a really good draft, but if AR-15 hits, nothing can beat that impact, so I am feeling more confident about my team in retrospect than I was before the draft, and especially before managing to trade up. So, he
Okay.
did have a very good draft. Richardson, Flowers, Charbonnet. I like Schoonmaker.
Yeah, I mean his offensive starters, Dobbins, young, running back 1 for the Ravens. As long as he can stay healthy, he's very good. Hollywood Brown, of course, is very good. Going to be wide receiver 1 for the Cardinals for a while, most likely. Zay Flowers, also for the Ravens, who I think is going to be great and may give them a legit wide receiver 1.
Flowers could be rookie of the year.
Yeah. Hayden Hurst at tight end, which is kind of a whatever. That's obviously something he'll need down the line as a tight end. And then, AR, which I love Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be great. The only other one is Tyler Algier.
He's got Jimmy G in case Richardson kind of falls. So
Tyler Algier is somebody I would love to see get traded. I really think that if the Falcons are going to ride Bijan into the sunset, then they need to trade Tyler Algier because that dude deserves more than a backup spot. I have him in a couple leagues because I thought he was going to be the guy, and then when Falcons traded or got Bijan, I was pissed. So I'd really like for them to trade him.
I think defensive wise, I mean, he's got his starters, and then I think he's just kind of playing the we'll wait and see game for like the depth.
Yeah, he's got a couple of guys like I really like Boy Maffey out of Seattle. I think he's going to be good. He's still just a defensive line guy, so he's kind of capped on points, but I think he'll be solid.
I think if this team was, let's see here, I'd say in maybe like the AFC North, it would probably be closer to being a favorite to winning the division.
Yeah,
but I think right in the fact that he will probably end up third in this West team
I
division.
don't think there's a question about it that he ends up third. Because having to play the Chiefs and the Broncos twice a year, that's 4-year games right there that are damn near automatic losses.
Yeah. Kimchi, do you have any concern with Vegas?
Less than, I say less than Chargers.
Like, okay, you think the Chargers are a stronger team than Vegas?
I mean, in the future.
Good
Yeah.
point. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if Richardson hits, yes, he is probably the better pick than Bijan because Bijan being a running back is only going to last you
Yeah.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I
Richardson
mean,
can last you
Leon's got some
the
really
entire.
good, really young guys that are going to be staples of this team for a while. It's not quite enough yet to kind of get to that next level. So it's going to come down to how he drafts and how he trades. He does only have a single first, a single second, and then 3/4 next year. The first is the Lions pick, so it should be relatively high. And then the second is the Texans pick, so it's going to be 2.01 most likely. So he does have a early first and an early second most likely. So, could get two very good impact players right away right there.
Yeah.
But the 3/4 aren't
Right.
going to really buy you much unless you win the lottery.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern for myself. I think next year I have almost the same thing, like a first, a second, and 3/4. So
Yeah,
my
those draft picks really got to hit if you're gonna take it to the next level.
a lot of dartboards in the 4th round. I have Vegas actually going 7-6.
I also have them going 7-6.
Yeah, they may be the only team that ends up 3rd in their division, still making the playoff.
Yeah, they got really lucky with where some of their games fall, taking on some slightly better teams on like those teams' bye weeks. Like I have them beating the Seahawks in week 5 and the 49ers in week 9.
Yep.
Just because those are two very good teams that would beat the Raiders on any other week of the season, but because it happens to be that team's like major bye week, the Raiders are going to end up squeaking out a win.
4 of their 6 losses I have in the division between Denver and Kansas City, and the other 2 was Miami and Buffalo, which are pretty good teams also.
Yep, we have the exact same win-loss on the schedule then.
So yeah, Vegas has got a good team. I think it's sneaky good. It's really going to depend on Richardson for the most part if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, in any other division, this team would look a lot better than it does. But when you put it in the AFC West, which is the juggernaut division, because it's got 2 top 5 teams in it, then you kind of just are stuck with what you got.
I can't even say Richardson's them being the deciding factor because, like I said, they've got Jimmy G. Honestly, he could probably wait a few weeks, see how well Richardson is doing, and flip Jimmy G to a team that needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
For a haul because quarterbacks are the the golden nugget in a 32 team league. So you only get one usually. So he's in a actually good spot there. And if he falters, I mean, there's some draft picks right there. So all right, so that was Vegas. Next, we're on to Denver. Denver is that one. Is it that one guy? No, Zach Attack.
Yeah, Zach Attack.
I don't believe there were any questions for Denver.
Nope.
So they actually, I feel like, are one of the teams in my projections that skyrocketed after the draft.
Yeah.
I don't think I had them very. Actually, I'm going to pull it up here. Power rankings, pre-draft power rankings. TJ's had where were they? They weren't that far down. I guess they weren't too bad. Actually, I had them 3rd pre-draft, so then I had them 4th post-draft. So
I mean, if you look at the average rankings, they went from number 9 overall to number 4 overall between pre and post draft. So they went up 5 spots.
Okay, so I guess I just had them better.
They went from a top 10 team to a top 5 team.
Yeah. A lot of that has got to do with having the 101 and picking up Bijan. I mean,
you're welcome.
That was Watkins. Was that straight to him or did he get it from someone else?
No, it was straight to him.
Okay.
Let me.
Yeah, do you remember what you got out of that? Had to have been a haul.
I think it was picks though. I don't remember getting because I don't. Oh wait, I do have a Bronco on my team. What's his name? Uh, oh wait, or no, it was Draymond Jones, but he's with Seattle now. Let me look. He would have been part of that trade. Draymond Jones, his first round pick, and his first round pick next year. So
Okay.
it was we swapped first round picks in 2023, and then I got Draymond Jones and his 2024 first round.
What was their pick this year?
The Broncos. I mean, it was early, like 8 or 9, I think.
Okay. So you fell back a few spots and then got an extra first next year, which
And a starting
will
defensive
pro-
lineman, which was one of my big weaknesses.
yeah, which that first will probably be a late first next
I don't
year.
have it anymore anyway.
Oh, okay. Flipped it.
Definitely. I got
Okay.
shit for picks.
But yeah, I mean, and that's not the only trade he did. He's got Lamar Jackson. I'm not a huge fan of Lamar Jackson. I like to play more on the side of safe. When it comes to quarterbacks, I don't like those running quarterbacks. I try and not draft them if I can help it, or if I do, I like to have somebody backing them up. So like the Fields of the world, the Jacksons of the world. I just even to an extent, Josh Allen. They scare me because they're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
That taking that extra risk of running around like they do just scares me. So he picked up Darren Waller, who's probably a top 5 tight end. He's got DJ Moore, who I'm not a huge fan of, and I know.
Don't
Yeah,
start
you
with me,
picked him.
TJ.
I'm
DJ
not a
Moore is
huge
going to
fan.
be a top 15 at the minimum wide receiver this year. I'd put money
He's
on
also
it.
he's also got Ayuk and Thomas and Shark. So even if Moore doesn't project out to do 218 points like he is and does more like 190, 180, I think Ayuk and Thomas are probably going to be more than enough as long as Thomas gets on the field. He's got a quarterback again, so we'll see. He does have Kamara also, and
Yep.
Cam Akers. So he has 3 starting running backs. He's got an offense.
I mean,
As for
even
the
on his bench for offense, he's got DJ Chark, which, I'm not a huge DJ Chark fan, but that's, for a bye week, that's a perfectly acceptable fill in.
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings, Logan Thomas, there's guys there, Chase Edmonds, Latavius Murray, guys that are going to get touches at least.
Yeah. He's got he shouldn't have too much of a bye week, hell. On the defensive side, I'm not seeing a whole lot of things standing out to me. It looks
Oh,
more like
bro, he's got Jonathan Allen, a top 5 defensive tackle in the league and one of the only defensive tackles that really scores fantasy points. Devin Lloyd for the Jaguars, a really good young linebacker. Got over 100 tackles last year. I don't see why he wouldn't repeat that. Dre Greenlaw, one of the best linebackers, middle linebacker 2s in the league, sitting next to Fred Warner on the 49ers. He scored over 100 tackles last year. The DBs, they're old, but I mean, it's the Badger and fucking Von Bell. They're both very good and score a lot. 2 very good safeties.
his entire secondary is basically injured, but
Yeah.
also a lot of rookies. So
And that's one of the big problems as you get to his injured reserves, and it's full, and there's some decent guys on there.
Yeah.
But I mean, on his bench, Emmanuel Ogba's not bad. He's got the rookie Miles Murphy. His defensive depth isn't as good as his offensive depth, but it's not the worst.
I mean, it's a good team.
And he's got some potentials on his taxi, but nobody huge. And he does still have his 2nd and his 4th next year.
Kimchi, do you think this is a contender for you for first place this year?
I think he has a similar downside as me.
Okay.
Because I think I'm lacking D-line and DB positions. I think he has similar issues with those positions.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
he has good defensive players. Nothing is like stands out as superstar except for maybe a couple linebackers. I do like Lloyd
Right.
Anderson. Nothing really on the DB side. Let's see here. He will probably break 200 again. That's kind of what I look for a lot of times when I look for a starter is somebody who's going to score me 200 points in a year. So, except for like the defensive linemen they're hard to find 200-point scores unless you find that defensive lineman who's also a linebacker. And
Yeah, you got to find the elite edge rushers like Max
Yeah.
Crosby, Nick Bosa. Those are the guys you want starting at defensive line.
Yeah.
But a guy like I said, Jonathan Allen, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the league, who normally don't score fantasy points, he broke almost 250 points last year because he got 15 and a half sacks. Like, I don't think he repeats that, but he's, it's not the first time that 2018, he almost broke 300 points. Like,
I forgot he has Chris Jones too, who hopefully if he reports will be a beast as well. So I mean, honestly, he does have a pretty good defensive line.
Oh, that's actually who I was just looking at. His stats was Chris Jones. Yeah, another D tackle that just absurd stats for fantasy.
Yeah, who hasn't reported yet for Kansas City.
They'll figure it out. They're going to make him the highest paid defensive tackle in the league.
Kelsey is begging for him to come in.
I saw that.
Come back. But I had this team going 10-3.
So do I. Wednesdays today.
The 2 of the 3 losses are to Kansas City and 1 to San Francisco.
I have the exact same thing. I have them losing out to the Chiefs and then losing a very close game in Week 12 to the 49ers.
I think this will be a contender for the championship.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't win their division, which is crazy to me. But
yeah,
the West is strong.
Yep, and that's going to be the Broncos' one Achilles heel right now is that they just can't quite beat the Chiefs.
No. Yeah, I think between the NFC East and the AFC West, those are probably the 2 strongest divisions we've got. Probably followed by the NFC North, because there's 2 really good teams in that division as well. But I think Dallas, Philadelphia, Denver, and Kansas City are probably going to be right in there. So it sucks if you're in those divisions and you're not one of those teams. So speaking of Kansas City, we've got the last one here for that division. And we've got Kimchi here to talk with. So Kansas City, the Chiefs, the real life Super Bowl winners from last year. Where are you at, Kimchi? There you are. So you start off with a great team. All you had to do is not fuck it up to be competitive. And I think you actually went above and beyond and made the team better than what it was. So tell us a little bit about what your game plan was when you took the team over, because I don't think you were the first person to take the team.
He was not.
No.
It was actually shit. What was his name? I don't know. It was one of our OGs that was one of our more active guys at the beginning.
77.
Yeah, Smitty.
Okay.
Yeah, he was one of the more active guys, and then just decided that he didn't want to pay and just left.
This is actually your protege. He was your co-commissioner.
Yeah, my co-commissioner that was just like, or not co-commissioner, co-owner of the Bears, because didn't know what he was doing, and then he just was like, "Oh, the Chiefs are open. Yeah, let me get that." And now he's probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I mean, you did. It's not like you just stood pat. You've made trades, and you have a very diverse and a very good team. So what was kind of your game plan? Was it just like, I'm going to win now and that's it, or do you still have future considerations?
Well, what I tried to do was, I had Patrick Mahomes. So, that kind of gives me a little bump, I guess. So what I wanted to do was try to get younger starters to try and not only win now, but at least have some future
Okay.
to compete. So I traded for Waddle, Parsons, uh, Pickens,
I don't know about.
and then
I like George Pickens. I think it's gonna be great. I think that's gonna look really good down the line for you.
Yeah.
oh really?
I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
Yeah, I also traded for some rookies as well. Tank Dell, I got.
Cedric
I
Tillman
also
too.
yeah. But yeah, I try to trade for some young studs that'll kind of be the what is it? Key pieces for my future.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
he's got a good mix of old guys too. I mean, like Bobby Wagner, 33, probably a top 3 linebacker in the league. That's the perfect piece for a team like this. If you're gonna win now, you want somebody like Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say let's just go through like your positions because when I look at this, I mean, you
It's
have
absurd.
5 running backs who are projected to score over 100 points. There's not. I can guarantee there's no other team that has
And
that
there's
kind of.
3 RB1s in his starting lineup: Austin
Yeah.
Eckler, Isaiah
Eckler,
Pacheco,
Mixon,
and Joe
Pacheco.
Mixon. A lot of
And Rashard.
people with Mixon were kind of, what's it going to be this year? I think he's going to be fine, and I think he's going to be a top 10 running back again. Pacheco's
Yeah.
the one kind of outlier because, how the Chiefs are. As far as running back goes, I think he starts, obviously, but who knows what he actually ends up with this year. Obviously, he came alive late last year and took over for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But the Chiefs and running backs, it's kind of a hit or miss game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Mixon and Eckler are older, but they are
Studs.
known. Yeah, they're known entities.
Having Jerick McKinnon still is actually not bad either. I know he's 31 years old, but the Chiefs find a way to give that man the ball over and over.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to hold on to him. Like, even though I think I got a couple offers for him, but
Yeah, and I mean, if Pacheco gets hurt,
exactly,
it'll be good to have
that
him.
was that was my mindset, I guess.
Yeah,
It's not the best running back room in the league because it's not the Vikings, but it's probably in the conversation for best running back room in the league.
yeah, easy top 3. And then we go to the wide receivers. You have 3 wide receivers who are very, very likely to score 200 points for you. Tank Dell. You're only 2 rookies actually in Dell and Tillman, so you actually have a really young wide receiver core.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle's
Yeah.
only 24 and Scary Terry's only 27. Like, that's...
McLaurin is probably the oldest person in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Scary Terry's going to be great still for years to come. Dude's a stud.
So,
And Waddle obviously is limited as long as Tyreek Hill is still playing. But I mean, he was still a top 10 wide receiver last year and a top 15 wide receiver the year before that. So
I mean,
he's
also,
gonna get the ball.
Yeah. Also, Tyreek's gonna retire. Say a couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see.
the end of his contract, he said he was, which is like 3 more years or something.
I think
so.
it's next season.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it'd be the end of 2024.
So 2 years.
Yeah, he played for 2 more years.
Yeah. So.
And then Tank Dell. I'm a huge fan of Tank Dell. I think George Pickens is good. And then we'll see what Cedric Tillman does.
I kind of feel Waddle actually benefits from having Hill.
Yeah, right now for sure.
Yes.
As for tight ends, you have Andrews, top 3 tight end. He's a little bit on the older side.
It's only 27.
Yeah.
At 27, 5 years in the league though. Tight ends though they last a while, so
yeah,
it's not like
Yeah.
They're not like running backs where at 27 they're kind of at the end of their career. So quarterbacks, you only have one, but you have the one. We don't need to go over who Pat Mahomes. And then we look at your defense, which you have a really great offense. So surely that had to come at some kind of expense. So your defense shouldn't be that great, right? No. Let's just start with Micah Parsons. Okay. So you have probably top defensive lineman in fantasy, just going for you. Hubbard, Sanders, Henningsen. I'm not too sure on who that is, and Clark. So you have the depth to rotate.
I also
Linebackers,
have Frank Clark, by the way.
Frank Clark. Yeah,
He's
A demon, but in fantasy, it's kind of meh.
yeah.
He's
been
very
around.
solid depth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you start off with Parsons, and then just who for these five, you can pretty
Mhm.
much just flip for whoever you think has the weaker line and be fine. The only concern I have at linebacker is you're probably going to have Parsons as your defensive lineman every week, which leaves Bolton
Yeah.
and Wagner and Spillane. Not like that's a bad thing, but
Yeah.
if one of them were to get hurt, that may hurt. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got, I mean, 4 linebackers, though, technically, who can score you over 200 points. Once again, 200 is
Yeah.
kind of my magic number. And this is probably the weakest room you have. And you can tell because you have a lot in this room. Your top
Yeah.
2 projected are Ward and Thornhill. Patrick Surtain, kind of dispel them. Savage and McDuffie. Nothing huge, but they're solid players.
I really like McDuffie, and I think that he might take a step forward this year. Obviously, he is capped in that he is a cornerback and not a safety. Correct? I'm not wrong, am I? He's a cornerback. He's a safety.
He is.
He's not on their depth chart. I don't know.
He's right here.
Oh, it says, but he's a cornerback. He's a cornerback. So he's capped there, being a cornerback and not a safety. But, you know, there are some corners in this league that can score 200 points, and I think that he's got the potential.
Yeah.
Pat Surtain obviously is one of those cornerbacks that can score 200 points. He hasn't quite got there yet, but he could.
It took me a scary amount of time to figure out that NB stood for Nickelback.
Well, that's, yeah.
It took me forever looking at this.
Oh,
what the hell
there he is on the depth chart. He's a Nickelback. So he's like the slot corner, essentially.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so I guess
Darnell Savage is no slouch either. He's scored over 200 before in his career. Desmond King. I'm not sure what it's going to be like for him going to Pittsburgh now, but he's very good and has scored over 200 points for the past 2 years in a row. And for a team in the position that you're in, you don't really need much more than that.
No.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think the only Achilles I would find in this is the lack of linebackers. Because if one goes down, that's going to hurt. But you've got the really great linebackers. And then
I think
kind of go to...
When it comes to that, as long as it's not somebody like Parsons that goes down, if, you know, say you lose, I don't know, Robert Spillane for the season or Nick Bolton for the season. Like, damn.
Don't say that.
Well, I know. Like, damn, that's going to suck real bad. But now instead of winning by 100 points every week, you'll just win by 50.
Yeah, because you can still slide Parsons in. You just have to take defensive linemen to put him in his spot. So that would be one. And this is very nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
And 2 would be the age of your best running backs. They are up there for running backs.
Yep.
We were just talking about how Eckler, I don't feel like is going to be a premier back for much more. Because he's taken a lot of damage over the years. Same thing with Mixon. He seems to have an heir apparent in Cincinnati already. So maybe next year he probably takes a step back. I don't know what his contract situation is if he's still with Cincinnati after this year. So, but yeah, definitely in my mind the best team, even though you're not going 13-0.
I was gonna hit on real quick before we get to his projections. I think this team is the best built team to be a competitor for multiple years, being a healthy mix of young impact players and veterans that score points like Bobby Wagner. And yes, he doesn't have any picks next year. Chiefs have no 2024 picks, but he does still have a full suite of picks for 2025 and 2026. So he's not as desperate for picks as some teams are, like the Panthers who just have no picks, or the Bills who have no picks. The Chiefs still do have a full draft class for 2025 and 2026. So really it's just this year where I think they've got a really good chance to just cash in and win, in which case if they have a slight downturn next year, say Eckler takes a step back, or somebody gets hurt, who knows, if they can't quite get there again next year, they'll be able to reload in 2025 and 2026 and keep competing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
11-2.
I also have them going 11-2.
11-2 winning in the division. Losing to San Francisco, and oddly enough, the New York Jets.
I have the same thing. Week 5 San Francisco, and week 10 versus the Jets.
Yeah, I was also looking at it. I was thinking at least 2 losses because of bye week.
Yeah. I have week 1 with the Bills actually being a 50-50 game. The Bills have gotten kind of scarily better through a couple of recent trades. I think you still win, but I think it's closer than it would have been 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And then I have you losing to the 49ers and the Jets, and I have both of those marked as 50-50 games also. You could just as easily win those games and go 13-0.
Yeah. Kansas City's bye is on week 10, so that's
the only reason you lose to the Jets is because it's the Kansas City Chiefs bye week.
But we'll see. Because once you replace those spots, it may come up to a 50-50 again. So, yeah, I got you winning the division. Offensive player of the year, I don't think will probably be debatable. I have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, the only dark horse I have would be Justin Herbert. If Mahomes gets hurt or something, or has a down year, and Herbert has an up year, Herbert could get there. But if I had money to put on it, it would be Mahomes every day of the week.
What about defensive player of the year? Who you got?
I have also a Chiefs player and on the Chiefs team, Nick Bolton, who again is kind of the no-brainer pick. Dude's a just monster middle linebacker for the Chiefs. He had 350 points last year. It's hard to pick anybody over him.
I'm actually picking someone over him.
Interesting.
Still on the Chiefs though.
Bobby
you
Wagner.
Take a guess? Yeah. He's back in Seattle. He's going to be rejuvenated. That 12th man. He is going to destroy people.
Yeah, I have Bobby Wagner as my dark horse pick, but I don't really think it's that much of a dark horse. Bobby Wagner, for how old he is and how long he's been doing this, is still just a fucking scary human.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially going back to Seattle gives him an edge. Obviously, we saw last year that changing teams doesn't really bother him because he spent a decade in Seattle being one of the best linebackers in the league and went to the Rams and literally outscored the past 6 years with the Rams. Still had 140 tackles and 6 sacks and had 2 interceptions. Went to a new team and just had a monster season, and now he's going to go right back to Seattle where he's going to be comfortable and is almost guaranteed to repeat a 300-point season.
Yeah, he's only had one season since 2017 that he hasn't scored 300 points. They haven't projected not to score and to regress. I think he will not regress. Like I said, he's older, 33, but I don't know. I think this boy is still got a lot of gas.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to regress this year. I think he might start regressing after next year. But I don't know. Nick Bolton is a scary dude for the Chiefs.
He is, and he is very young. So you've got that going for you as well, Kimchi, for the foreseeable future, along with your Patrick Mahomes. So, all right. So with that takes care of every division. We got to do what we do, and we got to pick our real life who we think is going to win the divisions in the AFC.
Oh yeah.
So Watkins, who's winning the North?
Oh god, I wasn't prepared for this. I forgot we do this. Who's winning the North in real life? The Bengals. The Ravens might give them a run for their money, but I'm going to go with the Bengals.
I'd agree. The Bengals. The East.
It's the Bills. I think the Jets will give them a run for their money if Aaron comes out as MVP Aaron, or at least close to MVP Aaron, because the Jets have the weapons, but it's hard to bet against the Bills right now.
This is my dark horse. I'm actually picking the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I think the Dolphins are a fine pick too. I think the Dolphins, Bills, and Jets could all end up within 2 games of each other at the end of the year. So
the South is probably an easy pick.
Yeah, I think it's most likely the Jaguars.
Yeah, the other teams aren't that great. So.
But I don't know if Anthony Richardson pops off or if CJ Stroud is the guy, then either one of those teams could give you a run too. But it's hard to bet against Lawrence going into his second season with Peterson now, after what I saw last season.
In the West,
it's the Chiefs. There's not really a question there. I don't think the Broncos and Raiders are going to do much, so then it really just comes down to the Chiefs and Chargers. And the Chargers haven't stopped the Chiefs in the past 5 years. Why would they start now?
Who do you got in the championship, AFC championship? Which 2 teams and who's winning it?
I feel like it would have to be the Chiefs, but then I don't know after that. It could be the Bengals. It could be the Bills. It could be the Jaguars. I really don't know. I think if I had to make a prediction right now, I think it would be the Chiefs. You know what? I'm going to say the Jaguars.
Okay. Even though I didn't pick them to win their division, I still think the Bills and the Bengals. I think this is the last year the Bills have a chance, and they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, and you think the Bills are going to go all the way to the bowl?
As a wild card. Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. So, Super Bowl, I've got Bills and I've got San Francisco.
Yeah, that's right. I think I had the Eagles, and I think I'm going to have to pick the Chiefs again. So I think we just get a rematch of the Super Bowl last year.
Okay.
But I would love to see the Jags go
me too.
over the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But I could see the Bills, the Jags, the Bengals going all the way.
There's a lot of teams on the SC side.
Yep.
All right. With that, it's pulling up to 10 o'clock. I need to get going here pretty soon.
Just got to do any last minute announcements.
Last minute announcements.
The pick'ems for the pick'em contest, I'm probably going to post it today. I think I'm going to try to do a week ahead of time to give everybody a week to vote. And I'll post them on Wednesdays, so figure that out. But yeah, I'm going to try to post the pick'ems today, and they'll run for a week. And then we'll make our picks, obviously, in the weekly videos.
Yep.
I think that's all I got. Everything's... Right. I'm working on the Madden 24 stuff right now. I'm still getting the league set up. I might just have to make it a simulation style thing, since EA sucks and I can't actually play the game. I can play Madden 24 menu simulator. That's what I can do.
All right.
I can't actually play a physical game.
Kimchi, you got anything you want to add? Anything you want to push out there? Trying to get rid of? Trying to buy?
Yeah, I'm actually looking to buy DL and DB starters.
Okay.
Jair Alexander.
So get out to Kimchi. He's looking for defensive linemen, defensive backs. He's got a roster. I'm sure you can find something that you'd want off of it. As for me, I've got nothing. I'm off to Chicago for the weekend. When I come back, we'll do our pick'ems, and it'll be the beginning of the actual season. Excitement.
Finally there. I'm ready.
All right.
I'm scared.
You're scared.
Yep.
I don't have I have a tough first week, so I do have to play Cleveland.
I don't. I get to win against the Buccaneers.
You get to
I'm
win
going
against.
against the Bills.
Yep, you
Oh,
do
you
have a
don't have
first
it.
tough week either.
You don't have it easy either. Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. There's some good. We'll figure out game of the week. Actually, do you just want to say what the game of the week's gonna be?
Oh yeah, I guess it is.
Uh,
About a week ahead of time. I think our game of
I mean,
the week for week 1 is gonna be as soon
I've
as
got it
I
right
pull it
here in the
up.
middle of my screen. Cowboys and 49ers.
Yes, Cowboys versus the 49ers is our game of the week
That
for
is
week
our game of
1.
the week. So
Oh yeah.
whoever wins out of Cowboys and 49ers will be getting $10 gift.
Will they?
They will.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
That's how it's going. Game of the
Is
week.
the same thing that the winner of the scavenger hunt is getting?
No.
Oh, you're not gonna
Once
say
I
what it
mail
is?
it, once I mail it to you, I will show them what they're getting.
So it is the same thing.
It's the same thing, but it's going to be different.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
it's secret.
Yes, secret.
But
I understand. All right, so
It's really cool looking.
So we have prizes for the game of the week all season.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right, so yeah.
Like
Cowboys
afford $10.
49ers is our game of the week because it's two contending teams, I mean, Chiefs and Bills are kind of another game just like that, but we're kind of trying to spread the love this year with game of the week and not pick two teams more than like twice in a year. And I think Cowboys 49ers is going to be a very important game for both teams because one of them has to take a loss here and it's going to impact the rest of their season.
Yep. All right. So game of the week, 49ers Cowboys, watch it. Tell your kid no. With that, I think we're good. So we are out until next week. See ya.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here, Kimchi.